represent the government at this stage.
Of course. Thank
so
you.
You have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. Yeah. First of all, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak on this motion here tonight. I've listened to all the contributions made on the issue, and I do appreciate where colleagues are coming from on it. It is only right and proper that firms which do significant levels of business in Ireland, which have a significant impact on the daily lives of large numbers of people, and which are subject to the laws of the land, that they have due respect for the democratic institutions of the state. This is why we put forward the proposed amendment to the motion, calling on investment funds to engage with the Joint Committee on Finance, Public Expenditure and Reform and Taoiseach as a matter of urgency, and to attend the Joint Committee when invited. I personally and the Government agree that funds and other firms should pay respect to the Committee and attend before it when invited. I hope that's clear. I think that's the main point that we're all after, that the Committee would be able to engage and question the funds. That's the end result here that we want to get to. I know that officials in the Department of Finance have strongly advocated in meetings with these funds that they should appear before the Committee. And I would recommend that committee members carefully consider, and I think I was chair of a committee for 4 or 5 years, that we look at how we treat witnesses when they come before committees, and whether any changes to the style of seeking information should be considered to encourage witnesses to attend voluntarily. Nobody likes to appear and actually be baracked and attacked and shouted at and stuff like that. So I think we need to look at that as well. Maybe the committee should look at that. Perhaps it's, speaking softly and asking precise questions can bring back precise answers. But people making speeches at committees and grandstanding for the soundbite, I don't think that works. So and I'm not saying this is happening with the Finance Committee at all, by any means, but I've seen it happening in some committees. So I think it's maybe better to have precise, focused questions, incisive questions, that really get at the nub of the issue, rather than making second-stage speeches, which I've seen in many committees. That's right to try to encourage them as chair of the Justice Committee. I think they work pretty well. So there are other things maybe that could be done to explore ways that the committees could advance the issue. I've heard the term tonight used quite a bit, vulture funds, and this has obviously come to take on a pejorative meaning in terms of loan sales. Now, people who work for these funds, including witnesses that a committee would wish to attend, would not describe themselves as being employed by vulture funds. The committee may wish to consider whether the tone of the report is likely to help or hinder the future attendance of such witnesses. In relation to the recommendation that the Government should cease all engagement with unregulated private investment funds and regulated credit service firms until these entities are accountable to the Parliament, this has already been addressed to a large extent by the Minister, Darcy, in his opening speech. I would re-echo his points. It is in the interest of the State that we should continue to engage with these funds. Otherwise, how can we get them to change their minds about appearing? Also, engagement with private equity funds allows the Department of Finance and other government bodies to develop market intelligence to allow better policy development. As has been noted, such recommendations and intervention with private equity firms is a two-way process in that officials and ministers can communicate what various government policies mean in order to demonstrate that Ireland is a good place for such funds to invest. There is also a worrying lack of clarity in the motion as formulated. It could have multiple unintended consequences in the way it is worded. It could be interpreted as prohibiting contact with all kinds of funds which may have legitimate reasons for wishing to invest in Ireland and to engage with the Government on multiple levels, and there are sound policy reasons why disengagement should take place. Many of these funds have no dealings with Irish consumers or mortgages and have a solely international focus. It is important that motions and legislation that are drafted and are put before this House are practical and realistic and clear, and that they can be implemented in a straightforward way. Finally, I would urge the committee to use the powers it already has to explore the issues of concern and to ensure that their consideration of the issue is as thorough as possible. For example, there is much discussion about non-banks being more aggressive in terms of repossessing properties. However, the figures on repossessions by non-banks show clearly that most repossessions are taken by banks. The full year figures for 2017, for example, show that out of 1,417 principal dwelling homes repossessed, only 148 were repossessed by non-banks and 1,269 by banks. The Central Bank has a wealth of data on this area, and it does accept invitations to attend the committee. The Bank is also very willing to accept any evidence of wrongdoing by regulated entities, including regulated credit servicing firms. I would urge the committee to consider how best to inform itself on this issue in the absence of witnesses making themselves available to attend before it. Also, the committee could consider seeking written answers to the questions that it wishes to pose, if it has not done so already. And I'm not sure whether that has happened. Perhaps the Chairman can tell us in his summing up if that's the case. To conclude, the Government does consider that these funds should attend before the committee, but it considers that prohibition of all engagement with its investment funds would be counterproductive and is also too loosely worded to be practical. Therefore, the Government has put forward amendments which I commend to the House. Thank you very much for hearing.